I believe that the Los Angeles Rams are one of the most underrated teams in all of the NFL, and when it comes down to the postseason, nobody's going to want to see this team. Now, they've had a crazy turnaround from where they were just a few short months ago. At one point, they were 1-4, one of the most banged up teams in the entire NFL. They saw so many different guys in their offensive line go down with injuries. We saw Puka Nacua at one point be placed on the IR. Cooper Kupp missed some time, and it just goes to show you that this team has been so banged up, but they're resilient, and it was really similar to what they did last year, but focusing on this year, 1-4, won 3 straight games, got themselves in a position where they were 500, where they could claw back in this very tight divisional race, and right now they find themselves just a game back from the Seattle Seahawks with a massive, monumental win over the Buffalo Bills. It's really going to give this team a lot of momentum heading into this final stretch of their schedule. Now they have the short week going into San Francisco, a massive divisional game, because you still have so many teams in the NFC West that are clawing to try and get that number 1 seed. Now we saw Seattle take a big time step in the right direction with their win over Arizona this past weekend, but this San Francisco game against the Rams is going to be monumental for both teams. We know that San Francisco has been extremely banged up as well. Same thing with the Rams, but they have to go on the road against a divisional opponent, the 49ers, at 6-7. If they can win this, they'd get back to 500 and give themselves a chance. If the Rams were to lose, they would be at 7-7 as well. But looking at this Rams team, I think they are extremely resilient. It's been the story for this group the past 2 seasons, 1-4, clawing all their way back to 7-6. It was the same thing last year. At one point, they were 3-6, would go on to win 7 out of their final 8 ball games, make it to 10-7, and get so close to beating the Detroit Football Lions that were in the NFC Championship, had a 17-point lead against the 49ers, the team that would go on to almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So it's a really interesting dynamic for this Rams team because they were so close to beating the Lions, who should have beat the 49ers, who should have beat the Chiefs. Now, that's a lot that we're talking about here, but I think this Rams team is extremely dangerous, and when they're all clicking, when they're all healthy, this is absolutely one of the best offenses in the NFL. We know what they can be. Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and Cooper Kupp have won a Super Bowl before, and it seems like a lot of people are very quick to forget that. This trio is still one of the best in all of football, and that's why this team is really going to make a statement down the stretch, and I truly believe, said at the beginning of the video, that nobody's going to want to see this team come postseason time. We know how great Matthew Stafford can be. I believe right now, looking at all of the quarterbacks in the NFC stacked up against Matthew Stafford, I would take Matthew Stafford over every single one of them. No matter his age, no matter what he can do mobility-wise, I believe Matthew Stafford is a pure gunslinger, and he can utilize his weapons in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, one of the best receiver duos in all of football. And let's not forget about Demarcus Robinson. Had some big-time plays down the stretch, Tutu Atwell as well. I think this team is deep at the receiver position. They have a great running back in Kyren Williams that can lead this offense to become so deadly in the play-action game, which is what we know they love to do. Sean McVay will love to run the ball. That's what this identity of this Rams offense is. They're a run-first team, but when they can key into that play action, that's when they're really dangerous. They can burn you. And of course, if they get into obvious passing situations, we know how great Stafford can be as well, hooking up with some of his targets. And I think that's why this Rams team is so dangerous, because they're well versed. They have a true veteran quarterback that can distribute the ball, get it to his guys. And I think you look at this defense, I know they just gave up 42 points against Buffalo in this absolute shootout, but I think they're young, and I think you've got to look especially up front with the loss of Aaron Donald. You've got to look up front. They have 2 key pieces on that side of the ball in Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, 2 rookies out of Florida State that I think have made a big-time impact on this Rams defense. Jared Verse, I believe, is going to be one of the best defensive linemen very soon, best edge rushers in all of football very soon, but he's had a solid season this year. Like I said, I know this team just got lit up against Josh Allen, but I think this offense right now, when they're clicking, they can really hurt teams. They can really hurt a secondary that might be struggling, such as a Philadelphia. Now, they've been better this year, but they, again, have 2 rookies in that secondary that I think can definitely be exposed when it comes down to it. Now, we did see Philadelphia go into Los Angeles and beat them a few weeks ago. But this Rams team, they're going to have to get off hot offensively in order to stop some of these great teams in the NFC. Now, when you look at the NFC, you're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions as the top dogs. And I think the Rams can do some big-time damage to them up front. in their front seven, so I wouldn't worry about the Rams going on the road and playing Detroit just like we saw last year. And in terms of the Rams going on the road in Philadelphia, I also think the Rams, having already seen this team, I think they're going to come in with a different offensive game plan. I think they know the run wasn't working, try and establish it early on, but they're going to attack those young guys, and I think they're going to be more aggressive than what we saw against the first time they played Philadelphia. I just thought they weren't aggressive enough. They weren't utilizing those young guys, inexperienced guys in the secondary. But you look at both of those top two teams, I don't think the Rams fear either one of them. I think the Rams can go into Detroit, or they can go into Philadelphia, or they can go into Minnesota, or go into Green Bay and absolutely pull off upsets. This is, without a doubt, a very scary offense. And I want to preface that. I want you guys to get that through your head. This Rams offense is good enough to absolutely pick apart every single defense in the NFL. And I said it at the beginning of the year, and this team's truly not getting enough credit because they're 7-6, because they were extremely banged up. But if this team isn't super banged up, they're in a way better position. They might be, 9-4 right now. They might be running away with the NFC West, but at the end of the day, they got to be pretty much perfect down the stretch. Really tough game on the road against San Francisco. And then their last 3 games, they're going to go on the road against the Jets, which should be a very winnable game. And then 2 massive games to potentially take the division lead against the Cardinals and against the Seahawks. And I'm looking at those 2 games as the shot for Los Angeles to get into first place, and they're going to need to take advantage of it. Offensively, for this unit, the Rams are playing the best football of the entire season. The defense is definitely a little bit of a cause for concern, but this offense is going to have to carry this team, and beating a team like Buffalo, that proves a lot about what Los Angeles can do, and I absolutely think this is one of the most underrated teams in the NFL, and nobody should be sleeping on them. I'm Caden Kubler, and thanks for watching.